morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever that you are, wherever you may be. Thank you very much for making us a part of your day. I am Brad Franklin, Digital and Media Relations Manager here in Chesterfield. Very glad to tell you that Chesterfield Behind the Mic is on the air once again. I can't say, as I was telling my guest here a few minutes ago, I can't say I ever expected to do one podcast about being on the Wheel of Fortune. I definitely did not expect to do two podcasts about being on the Wheel of Fortune. I'm very excited to welcome Juwan Washington, who is a recent contestant on Wheel of Fortune, a Chesterfield resident, who has a special familial connection to the show. Before we get started, let me introduce him. Juwan, welcome to the show. How are you, man?
Hi, how you doing? I'm doing good, man.
I really appreciate the time. Really appreciate you coming on and talking to us about what I know is a very interesting experience, not just for you, but for your whole family, which we'll get to in a hot second. For folks who didn't hear it, on episode 62, we talked to Juwan's mom, Tameka, and Tameka was a contestant on the Wheel of Fortune a while back, and we had a great conversation. That coincidentally, that podcast won some awards. It was one of my favorite shows I've ever done in my career. And then so to hear, that not only was there another Chesterfield resident who was going to be on the show, but then these connections. Before we get into what your experience was like on the show, I kind of want to talk a little bit about sort of what your experience was like when she was on the show, because I would imagine that her experience through that probably had something to do with you wanting to do it.
Yeah. What
was it like for you when she was on the show, and how big of a thing was Wheel of Fortune for your whole family going into that?
Oh man, it was first of all, it was surprising. My mom, she told me when she was going to actually kind of try out.
Yeah.
And, she said that she actually looked on Facebook. And she saw an ad, and they were trying to get people to sign up.
Right.
So she told me when she signed up, she said, hey, it's kind of, matter of fact thing. Hey, I signed up for, Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah.
And, it's cool. Like, I'm like, okay, cool. That could be cool.
Yeah.
And then, maybe a couple of months later, she gets an email back and they're like, okay,
yeah.
we need an audition.
Right. Yep,
and I'm like, okay, this is cool. So, when she did audition, it was kind of one of those things like she, made it apparent. She was like, okay, they told me that it was going to be a while.
Yeah.
Don't get discouraged if I don't get a hit back or anything like that.
Right.
And it was probably maybe 8 or 9 months before she, got a call back. And I remember, me and her were on the phone. Actually, we were talking about, just kind of day-to-day stuff.
Uh-huh.
And she starts screaming. You know what I mean? And I'm like, are you okay? She's like, oh, I gotta go. So she hung up. And then she called me back 5 minutes later. She's like, they had emailed her back from Wheel of Fortune. I was like, whoa, you know what I mean? So, and it was one of those things. It was like being, me and my mom have kind of been, together all my life.
For sure.
So, like I said, she followed me here to, Richmond. So I was just really happy and really proud of her. Really excited because, she deserves it. You know what I mean? So that was the biggest feeling from, I guess the rest of the family is, just us being so proud of her and being happy.
Right.
That she was able to have that experience.
Right.
And then, when we finally got to actually kind of get closer to the experience, I'll tell you. So, and it was actually in the kind of the heat of COVID.
Okay.
And I'm sure she, told you about it. Vanna actually caught COVID on the original day that she was supposed to go.
Right.
And they had to reschedule her. And for a couple of weeks, she didn't have a rescheduled date. They said they might not reschedule it.
Right.
So we went through a lot of emotions at that point.
Ups and downs,
like,
right.
Yeah, it was like, will we even be able to do it? So when we got the date, we were able to go out there.
And you recorded it when?
So her show was, I believe, in September.
Right, because what I'm trying to do is make sure folks get a good timeline. Because like when you say it's been months, it was months.
Oh yeah.
And the same thing kind of for you. We'll get to in a minute.
Yeah.
But it is a very different. Like you don't like appear on the show and then or go record the thing and then next week be like, hey, let everybody watch it. You're just waiting for months. But go ahead.
And to be honest with you, it's it's actually a little bit different than when I went, from me to her.
Yeah.
The biggest difference, I think, with her, they gave her a little bit of heads up. You know what I mean? So she had some time to kind of understand. And then they were like, okay, wait, never mind. We might have to reschedule. You know, so it was actually like a good maybe 6-week period where we're like, what's
in this
going
limbo,
on?
right?
Yeah, like we know we can go, but we don't know if we're going to be able to go now.
Right.
So. I'm very thankful, to Wheel of Fortune for coming back, reaching back out to my mom and allowing her to have that experience.
So she goes on the show. You were there, right, when she recorded, right?
Yeah. Yes,
so
sir.
you get that whole experience. At that point, did you have any ideas that you eventually one day would try to be on the show, or is that something that came after I'm curious where that little seed got planted.
Yeah, no, I mean, to be honest with you, it's actually funny. I feel like I am the show business, out of the the family. I've always done plays, and I've always sang on stage and stuff like that.
Right.
And my mom is not necessarily, my mom's very personable.
Right. Yeah.
But she's more behind the scenes. You know what I mean? So when she was able to go out, when I went out there, I never thought that I would be back at that show. I was able to speak with a lot of the the contestant producers and some of the just like some of the makeup artists and people like that. And they were like, when your mom goes back, make sure you try out. They just kind of told me, hey, like, you never know, like we're always looking. You got a great personality, you got a great smile, all that good stuff. So it wasn't really a thought at that time.
At that time, right?
Absolutely. It completely caught me off guard. And it wasn't even a thought, honestly, for my mom. It's a one in a million thing. You never really think, when you're young, when you're watching the show, you never really think I could be.
I could do this, right?
Yeah. But it's just it's just that simple. It's one of those things.
So you decide, all right. Do you have a specific moment when you remember making the decision in your head? Okay, yeah, I am going to do this.
Yeah. I mean, after my mom's show, I mean, it was just so awesome. The whole kind of thing. I didn't get to really see most of the day,
right?
Things that my mom went through, but I mean, being on that set, and I know not a lot of people know what it's like to maybe be on that set, but I mean, they take care of you, from, the moment you step in till, when you leave, even, people's families, what I mean? So just being in that environment, was enough for me to be like, okay, I think I could do this again. I want to, so, and it was just really awesome. I honestly, that was last year. So, when they actually had auditions again, so when my mom received an email actually that they were looking for more people and to have people's families reach out.
Okay.
So I went ahead and applied. I actually, for me it was kind of like okay, I know that my mom's been here, but I don't really know if I had it. If I had it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you. So you were thinking, like, I'll just see what happens. I just
throw
the thing out the line and see if anything bites. And then they came back and they're like, hey, we'd like you to audition.
Yeah.
And then it got real.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's how it was. I was like, oh, man, this is okay. This is for sure. So, and they're, like I said, so professional, very, very much professional how they do things. They reached back out about an audition. I actually had to audition at work.
Okay.
I had to go in the back room at work. And they do a Zoom audition.
Okay, right.
So
because they want to see like how you are on camera and how it all, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah. So Zoom,
Did you feel like the Zoom went well? Do you feel like?
I honestly didn't. I did not, man. It's they want to see your personality, but they actually make you play a little bit of the game,
right?
You get to play by yourself. You get to play with other people. I did not do good on that, on that audition, man. So I remember going home telling my mom, like, I don't know, Mom. But it was very, very cool. I auditioned with the contestant producers, one of them, and very nice people. They talked you through it. They made sure that you knew everything. I was a little, I had some technical, difficulties kind of getting logged into the Zoom, and they waited for me. I had to restart my laptop, stuff like that. Like, very nice people. Very, they made it so that I was comfortable doing something that, hadn't done before.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, definitely didn't think I made it, man. Definitely didn't think it.
So you do the audition. How long between that Zoom and when you got the? How long? What sort of time frame was that roughly?
Okay, so I did the audition in March. Okay, and like I said, I mean, I absolutely not thinking I got it.
Right.
And they told me, they gave me the disclaimer. It's if we do contact you, it's gonna be a while. Get comfortable.
Right.
So I remember I was kind of sitting there with my son. I think we had just woken up, and I got a text message.
Okay.
From a random number.
Okay.
And the random number says, "Hey, is this Juwan Washington?" I said, "Yes, this is Juwan Washington." Random number says, "Hey, this is so-and-so from Wheel of Fortune.
Okay.
We've been trying to get in contact with you. We have a show coming up, X, Y, and Z. Would you like to be on the show?" I'm like, "Of course, yes." You know what I mean? Why are you texting? Really, that's,
Yeah.
And they actually, so they said they were trying to email me.
Okay.
And it was actually going to my spam.
Gotta love the filters.
You gotta love Gmail, man. I'm very thankful. And that's another just testament to their professionalism.
Yeah.
Just being able
to.
They
were persistent. They didn't just give up on you.
It took me. I think they had been trying to contact me for a couple of weeks, like 2 weeks,
wow.
and I hadn't been responded. So it was so. It was insane. First of all, because they gave me the date. I think this was September. It was the first week of September.
Okay.
And they said the show was on the 21st. So it's like, it's
you got to go.
Yeah, and you got to make accommodations. You got to make something shake. But like I said, they're so communicative. They're so they make sure that you have everything, make sure that you know everything that you need before you go.
Right.
They're like, if anything comes up, let us know.
Right.
So
this was middle of September last year.
Yes.
And so you went out there, and I can't remember the timing on this.
Mm-hmm.
But is there another? Are you automatically, once they give you that call to come?
Mm-hmm.
Are you auditioning to be on the show? Or are you on the show? Like, what's the?
Yes. So it's kind of a stranger process. Not necessarily stranger, but they have alternates that fly out, right? So when you go out there, they shoot about a week's worth of episodes in one day.
Mm-hmm.
So they need enough contestants to be able to do at least 5 shows.
Okay.
But they actually have to fly out alternates as well.
Right.
Just in case anybody gets sick or somebody's not able to make it. So you really don't necessarily know.
Actually know if you're going to be on the
exactly.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. So it's just a blessing. When my mom went, same kind of process. She, luckily they did have a couple of people that ended up getting sick or weren't able to go. So they were able to use those alternates and stuff like that, and they knew that before people were coming in.
Gotcha.
So the people that were kind of designated as alternates, they knew there was a good possibility they were going to be on the show.
Yep.
When I went, everybody's trying to get on the show.
Yeah.
So when you get there, and I'm meeting all these people. I've only seen these people on maybe one Zoom, but it's like, you're looking at all these people and you being nice and personable, but at the end of the day, like I'm here to.
It's a competition.
Yeah, I'm here to I'm here to do it, and they don't have a decision on who's going to be on the show until everybody's there.
Okay.
When you get there, you kind of everybody mingles and you have breakfast and you start to. They kind of run you through the day, but the producers are actually looking amongst everybody, seeing how they, interact, and that's how they're deciding who's going to be on the show.
They're looking for chemistry. They're looking for that got you.
So that's one of those things. You when you get there, you got to be on your A game. You got to be kind of, you got to be attentive. There were actually people when I went, and they said that they were alternates multiple times. They had been there. It was a guy that was there. That was his 4th time going.
Wow. And to be clear, the show doesn't pay for the travel out, right?
No.
So I mean, if you were, maybe he's local, so it's not as big a deal. But 4 times is a lot of times.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he was local, so which is a blessing. So he says every time he just kind of drives, but it's one of those things, man. It's. Even when you get there, you still kind of gotta make sure that you're in tip top shape and you're in your A game.
Are you in this process? So basically, then they tell you, okay, you're going to be on the show. What are your nerves like before that? Because I can imagine me. I've done 800 podcasts or something in my life, right?
Sir.
So like being on the microphones, that's not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Being in front of a studio audience, doing all the things and guessing like that is a very different animal. And I can imagine that's the way it is for no matter what your, exposure is, but especially when you haven't done that kind of stuff other than, being able to see it. What were your nerves like?
Oh man, it was ridiculous, man. If you could test me right there, test my deodorant, man, it wasn't working out that well. I tell you, man.
Heart rate was up.
Absolutely. It's and like I said, with all that being said, with all that going on, you know, they know that, you know, they're such professionals,
right.
you know, so, you know, everybody kind of has their own kind of, you know, person there who is able to kind of help, you know, whether you're in wardrobe, you know, you got somebody there with you, you know, kind of.
Yeah. Are you wearing your own clothes, or they give you?
Actually, so what they do is they actually get you, or at least this is what they did with me. They get you to kind of send them wardrobe, kind of like, we'll say, a couple of options. Right?
Okay, that's fair.
You know, you take a couple of pictures, and then somebody from wardrobe will tell you, okay, this is your best option.
Yeah, right.
But then you still have, you know, alternates that you have to bring.
Got it. Yeah.
Everything is kind of put together that day,
right.
You know, if that makes sense. So even like, it's a lot of moving parts while we're doing breakfast. We're at makeup at the same time, you know, while we're doing makeup, we got somebody from wardrobe coming over
coming in, checking, right?
This, you know, so but so professional, so very professional, you know. And
so even though you're nervous, they're putting you at ease as much as they can,
100%.
And then you get on the actual stage.
Oh man!
And there's nobody there to help.
Nobody. And yeah, man. And you know, it's actually when my mom went, you know, I know that she was actually able to see me from where she was sitting on the stage. And it was really cool. You know, it was a cool moment. You know, my mom raised me. She was single mom. You know, so me and my mom have always been together. You know, we've been close knit. And you know, I've always, if I look up in the stands, you know, that's the first thing I'm doing before a game starts. You know, football, basketball.
Yeah,
I'm like,
you're trying to find.
You know, where's my mom? So. Me and her kind of had that moment when she went, you know, she was there, and when she finally was able to look up at the stage, you know, at the stands, I could tell she was scanning for me. She was able to find me right then. When I went, you know, my mom was kind of seated in a place where I couldn't really see her, you know, but I knew where she was.
Roughly,
so, you know, it was like, you know, I felt like, all right, you know, I know she's in here somewhere, you know, and but I kind of felt like, not on my own, but, you know, like, all right, man, we're really doing it, you know, and it's definitely nerve wracking, you know, when you get on that stage and all those lights are going and they're hot.
It's hot,
it's hot, and when
it goes fast, I bet too.
Oh man, so fast, man, and you know, I tell people it's so much easier to do it at home because there's no rules.
Yeah, right.
There's no rules. You know, it's at home I'm actually the better wheel player than my mom, but as you can see, you know, I can't claim that anymore. But I mean, you know, you don't have to worry about everything that's going on. There's so many rules, so many parameters, so many things that you just have to worry about. You know, so
So you record the actual episode. For those who didn't see it, I believe you had a chance at a $13,000 puzzle there at one point, and you weren't able to get it. But you had the experience in the moment. What don't people know? I asked your mom this similar question. I'm curious. Like you've at this point you've talked to enough people, and again we're talking about September to now February between when you recorded and when it aired. You've talked to enough people at this point where, you know, folks are curious. What do people not know about this, or what maybe what are the things? What's something that they assume that they're just wrong about?
Yeah. So, you know, biggest thing is that and that, you know, surprised me is that, you know, they'll actually stop the taping. You know, if there's a mistake. Okay. So, you know, that's the biggest thing. Like there's a whole handbook that you have to actually go through before you even know if you're going to be on this, you know. And it's a thick thing. It's like maybe 30 pages, 35 pages of just, you know, you have rules, you know, regulations and all that good stuff. So, you know, there's certain things you can't say. There's a certain way that they want you to say things. You know, if you ever notice that, you know, people are kind of yelling, they want you to yell. And I think that's, you know, more than likely that, you know, if they need to play with the sound in the background or something like that, you know. So there's also a timer as well, that you know, you have to stay in with in a specific time. There's a word bank, you know. So, you know, at home you're not seeing any of this stuff. You know, at home you're just thinking,
you're just guessing.
This is the puzzle. You know, but you know, you actually genuinely have to look back and forth in the word bank because you can't call, of course, the letter that somebody else is.
And
you know, at the same time, they also tell you, all right, make sure you're smiling. Make sure that when somebody else is going, you're clapping.
Yeah, you bring the energy.
Make sure that you're always going to be on camera. Right. So you're thinking about a lot of things at the same time that you're playing.
That you're playing the game. Yeah,
you know what I mean. It feels so. At home, it's a game. That's all it is. It's a game. But right there, during 22 minutes, like you're clocked in. Like that's a job. You got to focus. You got to make sure that you're doing everything correctly according to the studio, but you also got to make sure that you're taking care of business. So it's hard, man. I tell everybody it's way harder than it looks. If specifically in that puzzle, man, if I had 3 more seconds to think, I feel like I know for a fact I would have got it. And even after I said that letter, I'm like, oh man, but
how much? I mean, in this, because you're on the show, you wait so many months for it to come out. How nice is it now that it's everybody knows? Because that's the other thing too, is that like there's a confidentiality piece of this, right? Which is you can't really talk about other than say, hey, I'm going to be on the show and it airs on this date. Really, other than that, you probably can't say much of anything to anybody.
Man. Brad, I wanted to throw up that day, man. And that's the thing, man. I think I won the first puzzle. And after that, when I kind of messed up on that one puzzle, I lost focus. And
which is natural. I mean, that's
man, and that's one of those things. If that was my biggest regret is kind of not locking in at that point, because I mean that really honestly was the difference maker. Was that one puzzle, and I got I got in my own head kind of thinking about that. And that's one of those things, man. Having to now I'm months removed now, so I've come to terms with it. But that is one of those things, man. I kind of went over it with my mom. I'm like, oh man, Mom, that one letter. I did that for maybe a couple of weeks, and having to do that by myself is one of those things. And now that the show's gone, I had people DMing me on Facebook like, hey, my name is Maria. I just want to know, why'd you say that letter? And I understand. I get it. But I always tell people, you don't know
until you're there.
That's a beast. It's a different beast. And I'll tell you, man. I'll let you know this, man. In the audience. So I didn't get to go until I was the last show that was recorded. Okay. So I got to watch everybody else.
That's true. Yeah. So you had to sit there.
I was at the studio 6 a.m. I didn't get to tape till 5:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So all day, I sat and watched people. So I don't know if anybody saw, but in the show, before I got to that, before I got to the R, at the end of rock paper scissors, I landed on the mystery wedge twice. Okay. For $10,000.
Right.
All day in everybody's show, somebody landed on that mystery wedge, and they they got it and they went bankrupt. Oh. And everybody's been we've been talking about it amongst ourselves.
Right.
Like, we're watching it like everybody's like, I don't know about the mystery wedge.
Yeah.
So I go and I get it twice.
Yeah.
And I actually got it 3 times. I think they edited one out. Okay. But I actually ended up getting I spin the wheel and it goes to that mystery. It was like God telling me, please dig it. I'm like, no, and like that was a big, I think that was another, difference maker in, my focus, man. Yeah. Like, it's thinking about everything else. Right. I was doing so well with everybody else's game show. When everybody else went, I was like, oh yeah, I can do this.
And it like lulled you into a sense of security that maybe. But that's the fun thing though, right? Too, is like having the experience that you had and being able to come home. I'm guessing that when the show aired, as we record this, it aired on Monday night. Did you have a lot of people who are like, hey, Were you on Wheel of Fortune?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah, I actually went back into work. I had a lady come in. She was like, and she's just looking at me. She's like, I think I saw you on TV last night.
That's
so It was really cool. You know, I had a lot of people DMing me, a lot of people, you know, sharing things to me.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of people, if you know, it feels good to have that support. You know, to be supported. You know, I haven't done anything like this, you know, since high school. I was in Hairspray. You know, so you know, something like this it's really cool to have the support of people, you know, who you don't know.
Yeah,
you know,
that's awesome. Last thing for you, and I'll get you out of here on this one.
Mm-hmm.
When you look back on this experience, other than the actual like the portion of it, the game itself, and as you're talking about the puzzles and stuff like that, but what do you feel like is going to be the thing that you take with you going forward? The thing that will always be on your mind about being part of this and having this experience, and I would imagine too having such a unique sort of connection with your mom to both of you guys having been there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for sure, Wheel of Fortune, I mean, it definitely changed, you know, my life, I would say. I mean, you know, definitely put my mom in a very good, you know, financial situation by being on there. And I'm so appreciative of that. But that experience is so cool because when I was young, I used to watch that show. And, you know, people who are older than me, you know, my family used to watch it, and you just watch it, and you know, that's just, you never really think like, hey, I could do this, right? You know, and you just watch it. You know, when you're sitting at home, you're just watching it, you're playing, and it does mean a lot. You know, it makes me feel good that somebody actually thought enough about me. You know, to be able to be there,
right?
You know,
put you in that position,
you know, I've only been to Los Angeles twice, and that was to go to Wheel of Fortune. You know, and that's a big thing for me. You know, when you're a kid, sometimes you know you don't have a lot of confidence. You know, you may not necessarily think that you can do a lot of things,
right? Yeah,
but it means a lot for somebody to come and say, hey, I see something.
You know
what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, you got this, you got that. Let's put you here.
Cool.
And that's my biggest takeaway from that. You know, is, you know, being on that show is awesome, man. You know, no amount of money can take away the fact that I was there.
Yeah, that's right.
And you know, able to do it, man. Not a lot of people, you know, can say they did that.
That's right.
And you know, it's a big confidence builder. You know, I got a 3-year-old. You know, so you know, being able to kind of be in a space to tell him, hey man, you can do something.
Yeah,
you know,
I was gonna make a joke about now we just wait for 20 years and your son's on it, and we do an even different one. But I can definitely understand where you're coming from.
Absolutely,
that's awesome. So real quick, we are now joined by Tameka, who is Juwan's mom. Tameka, welcome back to the podcast. How are you?
Doing great, thank you.
I very much appreciate that you came. I like that you wore a shirt that says the champ is here.
Yes.
The idea that the both of you were on this show and have this experience. How was it like for you to watch your son be on a show and to know, because most people when they watch their family member on Wheel of Fortune, they don't have the kind of institutional knowledge, let's just say, right? The background with it that you have. What was it like to watch him? And what was this wardrobe malfunction I heard about?
Oh, yeah. So, first of all, it was truly exciting just to watch him just grace the stage with the level of confidence that he was. I tried to coach him and prep him as much as I could, but I mean, I think he held his own. So I was pretty proud.
And then the wardrobe malfunction. Tell me what happened.
So the wardrobe malfunction, man. I'm always a mom, so in trying to prep him and prepare him for the experience that I've already experienced, you know, my first thing is, Juwan, make sure your wardrobe's on point. And ever since he's a little boy, Mom, I got it. I'm good.
Don't worry about it. I got it.
Yeah, I got it. So, I tried to pull back a little bit, and let him enjoy the element, of going through the entire experience. But even up until the day before we flew out, I said, Juwan, are you good? You try your outfit on so you can look at yourself top to bottom. Mom, I'm good. I got it. Took me back to, little 5-year-old Juwan. So fast forward, we get to California, and, it was a really good opportunity for us just to bond. He's an adult, got his own little family. So we had a great time in California. Got there, did some shopping, went to eat. I guess it was about 7:30, 8 o'clock p.m. p.m. In California. And I said,
gotta be on the show the next morning.
Has to be at the studio at 7 a.m.
Right.
Yeah.
So I said, it just kept rustling my spirit, Juwan, just try it on. Let me look at you. And if you remember the episode from The Cosby Show when Theo tried on that shirt and he came in there, he let out that Denise.
Oh.
So he tried on his pants and he's like, Mom.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So if I could take it over. So, I want to make sure that I look good, you know. So I took my pants to a tailor.
Okay. Which underscores probably why he thought it was fine.
Right.
Okay.
You know,
I got your back on it. Okay.
The tailor measured me.
Yep.
You know, we discussed how short, the pants needed to be. So and it was really crazy. So I took the pants there. I had to fly out on Thursday. I took the pants there on Monday.
Okay.
So I asked the lady, I just took it there. She measured me. I was like, okay, I need these taken in. She's like, I can't do that in 3 days. I said, okay, that's fine.
Right.
Don't do anything.
Okay.
Just press them, wash them, just make them look nice. It's
Uh-huh.
okay. Like they're a little long, but it'll do.
Uh-huh.
So
not so much, huh?
I go and pick the pants back up on Wednesday. She's like, okay, I got everything done. I did everything. I was like, okay, all right, So I'm not thinking anything of it. I mean, So yeah, needless to say, I put those pants on and they were capri pants.
Oh no!
Right before
you're waiting for the flood.
Yeah, man.
So Juwan's a pretty tall guy, and no exaggeration, the pants were up to his calf.
Oh.
So he grabbed his wallet and keys and flew out the hotel, and I'm running behind him because luckily there's a mall.
Yeah.
So we had to go back to the mall, but he's tall and slim. So
so you're trying
finding a pair of pants on the rack.
Mall closed in 17 minutes.
Yeah.
Man. I'm trying everything on in there I can.
That's so funny. When so the experience, he mentioned that when you were on the show, you could see him, but he couldn't quite see you. Could you tell he couldn't see you?
No, but where he was sitting, he was on the end, I do believe. But I guess it's just that mom son thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I couldn't see anyone but him in the crowd.
Right.
But,
and so then he said when he's on stage, he knew roughly where you were, but he couldn't pick you out. Mm-hmm. What was it like to watch him? Especially playing a game that is so near and dear to your heart.
So just to watch him, it looked like he was comfortable, so I was kind of giving him some little mama vibes there.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah.
Just keep going. And then, he hit that puzzle.
Yeah.
I forget what it was.
Rock, paper, scissors?
Rock, paper, scissors. Yeah. And I could see him. I could see the brainwaves going.
Yeah.
But anyone will tell you, and I think I shared before, it's just easier sitting at home
Absolutely.
on the couch.
Yeah.
And that work could be right there in front of your face. And you've got the time clock, you've got the used letter board, you've got the lights, and you've got the pressure.
Yeah.
So you've got 5 seconds to make a decision, whereas your opponents actually are already studying it while you're doing the work.
While you're doing everything you're doing.
Yeah. So I felt bad for him because I knew, like after it was revealed, he was
going to kick himself.
He was going to kick himself. But
just
but then, hands down, just making sure that he took in the entire experience, and that's the most important.
All right, last thing. I joked with him about this, but when Wheel of Fortune inevitably calls for you guys to come on and be a team, how quickly are you going to say yes and get on the plane?
Man.
Immediately.
I'll be there already, man.
Immediately. Joanna and I, we've done game shows together since he's been a little boy. I think he tried to do Jeopardy, but I was hoping that he would surpass my score, but mom is mom, and the champ is here.
I was gonna say she's never gonna let you live this down. I apologize in advance for all of this.
Okay.
Well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us, Brad.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks.
All right, make sure you check us out on social media. On Twitter, it's at Chesterfield VA. On Instagram, it's Chesterfield Virginia on Word. And on Facebook, you can check out our podcast page. Just search Chesterfield Behind the Mic. Now, make sure to follow or subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, or wherever it is that your shows are sold. And if you're so inclined to give us a rating or review, we appreciate it. As always, the video version of our show is available on our YouTube channel as well as on our website at Chesterfield.gov/podcast. That's where you can submit feedback anytime, make a suggestion, or just reach out to us. You can watch the show on WCCT Thursday through Sunday at 7, on the weekends at noon. That is Comcast Channel 98 and Verizon Channel 28. Lastly, check out Chesterfield.gov/connect with us. to find out a number of other ways to connect with Chesterfield County. My thanks to my director, Martin Stith, my executive producer, Teresa, Bonifas, and all the good folks from Stitch and Media Services for all they do. And my thanks to you for joining us today. So from all of us here in Chesterfield, thanks again for making us a part of your day. We'll see you again real soon. Take good care. From blogs to podcasts.
And I'm very glad to tell you that Chesterfield Behind the Mic is on the air once again.
Weekly video segments and newsletters.
Social media, the latest community news.
And this is your Chesterfield News Minute for September 19th.
How to get in touch, and everything in between. If you want to know about Chesterfield County, our Connect With Us webpage has you covered. Chesterfield.gov/connect with us. Connect with us, your source for all things Chesterfield.